Hey everyone, this is Mike and today we're going to be talking about best in slot, what it is, why there are different best in slot gear sets available, and also how to farm for it. Now, best in slot is basically going to be the best gear that is available for the job that you are playing at a specific point in time. For example, right now we are in patch 5.4. Once patch 5.5 rolls around, there will most likely be changes happening to your best in slot as new gear becomes available. Usually as we go through an expansion, we'll have a best in slot for your first patch on 5.0, then for example 5.2 when the next raid tier comes out, now 5.4 when again the last raid tier comes out, and then 5.5 will have some changes again, because at that point the relic weapon and probably also the relic gear will be caught up with the raid in item level, so there could be some changes over there as well. Now, the reason why there are often multiple sets when it comes down to your best in slot is because of a couple of reasons. So first of all, it could be down to personal preference. For example, I am currently playing Gunbreaker in this raid tier, and whenever I play Gunbreaker, I have always enjoyed playing it at a 2.40 second GCD. That is kind of what I've gotten used to at the beginning of the expansion, and that is just how I enjoy Gunbreaker myself. Now, the current best in slot for this raid tier is going to be at a 2.41 second GCD, but because I like the other one, I wanted to see what the difference was between the two, and it came down to a 4 DPS difference, which really is all negligible, so I just went for a 2.40 because that is my personal preference. A much better job to look at this for would be for Black Mage, because Black Mage usually has a difference between either a very fast best in slot that has a lot of spell speed on your gear, or you have a high crit biz where you're gonna go a lot slower, but all of your attacks will be doing a whole lot more damage. So it's usually a preference in between playstyles that you're going to be choosing over there. Black Mage also being in the caster role makes it so that if you want to play all three casters, you might be looking at a third gear set that plays nice with Summoner and Red Mage as well, because Summoner and Red Mage usually want a little bit less spell speed than Black Mage does, so you can use the same pieces of gear that are on your Red Mage and Summoner best in slot, also have the melds and such that are attached to those, and then you would change the other pieces for your Black Mage best in slot and put spell speed on those pieces, for example, to still have the faster best in slot for your Black Mage because you like to go fast or something, or because it is just better than having a very slow GCD, but you'll still be able to utilize your Red Mage and your Summoner as well, because you just have to switch out some pieces here or there. So that is the reason why there are usually going to be 2, 3, maybe even 4 different gear sets available, because it comes down to personal preference a little bit. How do you enjoy to play your job? Could also be that, for example, if you are playing on a higher ping, you might need to go with a slower GCD, because otherwise if you go too fast, you might not be able to double weave or something like that. That could also have something to do with it. And then also, as I mentioned, if you want to play multiple jobs in the same role that share their gear, you might have to get some kind of a gear set that works best for all three combined. Yes, it might not be the mathematical best for one specific job, like for example for Black Mage, but you'd still be able to play Red Mage and Summoner without feeling all too gimped, because you're just going super fast, like your Black Mage would, for example. Now, when it comes down to farming for your best in slot, in general, theoretically, it takes about 2 months to do so, 8 weeks. Usually in practice it takes a little bit longer than that for a few different reasons, and that is that all of your gear, at least at the moment in patch 5.4, is going to be locked behind weekly progression. We have a mixture of upgraded tombstone gear as well as raid gear. Now, when it comes down to the raid gear, I made a video on this a little while ago. I'll link it in the description if I don't forget about it. But long story short, you can only enter the raid once per week, and you only have one chance at getting your loot. Of course, that is when you clear, you can farm it as much as you want, but you'll only have one chance at loot from the specific encounter that you did when you clear it the first time in the week, and that is where you can get your gear. And the second and the third fight will also drop upgrade materials to upgrade your tombstones. Now, when it comes down to the tombstones themselves, they are capped at 450 per week. The other tombstone you can farm as much as you want, but that one also gives you lower item level gear. So that is something that we are not going to be using in our best in slot, but the higher item level tombstone gear is locked at 450 tombstones per week. So you will again need to cap your tombstones every single week in order to be able to buy those more expensive pieces. And of course, depending on what job that you play, you might want a lot of raid gear for your best in slot, or you might want a lot of upgraded tombstone gear for your best in slot, and depending on which of the two, it is going to be easier or harder for you to gear up, depending on if you need a lot of upgrade items or something like that. For example, if you play in a static, by the time that you have done 8 weeks, everyone will have had 3 upgrade items, one from the raid itself, and then you have 2 that you bought with books, for example. But if you need more upgrade items than that, because your best in slot is tombstone heavy, for example, it might take a few extra weeks for you to get there. But that's basically your best in slot. It is the best gear set that is available for your job in any given patch. Of course, as I mentioned, this will change quite a lot as we go through the different patches. And then there can also be some variance in between these best in slot lists, depending on mathematical best, personal preference, and also if you want to share the gear set with other jobs that you want to be playing as well, like for example Black Mage sharing their gear with a Red Mage and a Summoner. But that's gonna do it for this video. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below and I'll definitely get back to you. And on that note, I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.